Well, many of us might be embracing overseas travel again, but experts say Australia is still another 12 months away from pre-pandemic levels in terms of visitors coming here. The latest data shows 1 in 5 seats were empty on inbound flights to Australia last year. That's well down on figures from 2019. Joining me now is Transport and Tourism Forum Chief Executive Margie Osmond. Thanks for your time. So the stats suggest that flights outgoing are basically full, inbound, these big gaps. Is it as simple as Australians are ready and willing to head straight back overseas and others are not quite? Are we doing something wrong here?
Well, look, I think Australians are well-known enthusiastic travellers, and there's a huge amount of what was called not so long ago revenge travelling here for Australians. Everybody's getting out and about. In addition, I think for many people, they're still in the process of catching up on the visiting friends and family post-COVID. So there's a high level of activity of people going out of the country, and likewise, massive amounts of domestic travel. The problem that we've got from an international inbound perspective is really about people's overall willingness to take the long-haul jump. And Australia is a long-haul destination. Australians are, if you like, a little bit more used to the long-haul destination issue. And for many international travellers, they're still getting their head around that process of taking a very long trip.
So, all right, the domestic element you spoke about there, that's interesting. So during COVID, basically, not quite, but domestic travel, when people were allowed to do it, was almost filling that gap of international travellers, albeit we're not as big spenders because, you know, someone from America goes, wow, I'm at Uluru, I'm going to spend up big, I might never be here again. Someone domestically goes, oh, look, I'm 3 hours from home, whatever. But that domestic travel, is that still quite high compared to normal and going a decent way to filling the gap for tourism operators and venues and so on?
Well, look, you know, if you had asked me that question 6 months ago, I probably would have said yes. I think what we are starting to see now is a fairly substantial smack of cost of living onto that domestic travel outcome. So we started to see a bit of a zephyr of it, if you like, before Christmas. And certainly before the last set of school holidays, people were starting to say the cost of living was biting it, and it meant that they weren't going away for as long, and they might be staying with Great Auntie Nellie instead of in a flash hotel. But they were still travelling. I think progressively over the coming year, it's going to be what happens with that cost of living impact. Now, I think the reason that we're still seeing very strong international outbound is because there is still a high level of that revenge travel and a need to reconnect with family and friends. But, you know, we can't be certain that that's going to continue as the cost of living issues bite even harder.
We had that, I'm trying to think of the name of it, I'm sure you know the recent Travel to Australia campaign.
Ah, Ruby the Roo. We love Ruby Roo.
Of course, see, I knew you'd know. So how's that gone? Can we, it's always a bit hard to say, right? Because they could have said, well, there would have been even fewer visitors if we didn't have that campaign. Any indication on whether that's worked or not?
Oh, look, there's no doubt at all. And look, Ruby the Roo was based on an enormous amount of international marketing assessment. And she's a product of more research than you can imagine. And she distinctively says Australia. But that campaign is designed to pay off over the next 12 to 18 months. You very infrequently get an immediate dump off one of these. But it is about reminding everybody what an extraordinary destination Australia is. So that is well underway at the moment. And then on top of that, there's some wonderful new content coming into the Australian market, which will, I think, have a global impact. It won't be the only reason people come here, but they will find it exciting. So things like the new Wiradjuri piece that's going to be happening out at Uluru, which is an amazing drone-driven night sky story of the First Nations people there, is going to be a world beater. So there are some wonderful things that are starting to happen in our content market that's going to drive more internationals. But it really is going to take time. And if anyone's saying 12 to 18 months, I think that's probably around about the money. And it's probably more to be the 18-month end of it rather than the 12.
All right, well, I won't write off Ruby the Roo just yet. We've got the Women's World Cup.
Certainly not. She's
draw
fat.
card. Yeah, huge draw card from July onwards, and a great global one in terms of where soccer nations travel from. What about international students? So they were basically zero. And they're pretty important, right? They come here, they often work and then spend every cent they've got, we hope. And they can be workers as well in some of our tourist areas. So they're coming back as well. That must be a shot in the arm coming up.
It's an incredibly important part of the puzzle. Getting those international students back and the backpackers has been a real boon for the industry. We've still got a little way to go, but I think the important thing too with international students, not only do they fill a whole range of really critical hospitality and tourism roles, but when they study here, their families will visit very frequently during the period of their studies. That's what our experience has been in the past. So during the course of a degree, the average family, parents at least, will visit their children here 3, 4, maybe 5 times during the course of that degree process. And they go outside the normal tourism destinations. So they go bush, you know, they like to go riding mountain bikes in Kosciuszko and do all sorts of things. So it's a really important group, not just for the workers, but because of the ancillary tourists in their family they bring here.
Margie, always good to get your thoughts. Thank you.
My pleasure entirely. Get yourself out there and have a lovely Australian holiday.
Well, I'm working, but my wife's up in Cairns, so she's doing her bit. So, you know, the family's contributing while I keep working hard. That's what I tell her anyway. Margie, thank you.